What's up, everybody? It's Jeff D from ThoughtCast, live on Rumble. I will have a very important video to share for you, maybe the most important video I've ever done. And this is an interview that I did with a Capitol policeman that was on site on January 6th from a very unique perspective. I mean, we go from the very beginning through to the end, talk about the aftermath. He answers some questions. He was right there. He may solve some conspiracy theories that we have. At the very least, I think that this is a perspective that really no one has had. This man is an American patriot. He's a military veteran turned police officer. And I thought that this perspective that wasn't a super activist partisan perspective from either direction, I really think that it's a good perspective that we just don't have. So without taking up much more time, I'm going to get right into it, and you could hear his side of the story for his own life protection safety. He is anonymous. It is a faceless, nameless interview. The only thing I can say is that I promise you, I know that this person is who he claims to be, at least whatever that means to you. Capitol Police Officer, recounting January 6, 2021. I appreciate you reaching out.
Of course.
This is actually a very unique opportunity. So we have a lot of content, a lot of controversy around. It's been 5 years. January 6th, the insurrection. Never let a good crisis go to waste. It's a famous political saying. And so like 9/11, January 6th, which they said was worse than 9/11 over and over and over again, they very much use that. Now, you were really physically there. So
correct.
I would love to not interrupt you and just let you tell us your perspective of everything that you saw happen that day. That would be amazing if you're cool with that.
Yeah, absolutely. You want me to go ahead?
Yeah, and introduce yourself to the level you want to for backstory,
Of course.
and then go ahead.
Yeah, sure. So, I got into law enforcement at the age of 25, and the first agents. Well, let me go back. I guess out of high school, I joined the military, and did 7 years in the military. Deployed once, and upon getting out of the military, got my first real opportunity with the Capitol Police in 2017, and the department is divided up into multiple different divisions. I was on the Senate division, as they called it, but doing the standard, tasks that a law enforcement officer would do. Patrolling every day, things like that. And then, if we move forward to 2021, January, by this time in my career, I was still kind of doing the same thing with Senate Division. But I was on the CDU unit, civil disturbance unit. And the way USCP kind of had it set up was if you were on the CDU unit, you were either considered soft squad or hard squad. And it's kind of self-explanatory. I mean, hard squad is going to be the guys wearing like hockey pads, essentially, top to bottom, gas mask, PR-24. And then soft squad is going to be kind of like the handcuffing team, we'll call it. They kind of stay back and, move in if they have to assist or whatever, apprehend somebody. As far as numbers, I mean, I can't tell you how many people were on the CDU team. I mean, I think it was in the hundreds. That's soft squad and hard squad. But I mean, as a whole department, I think there was like roughly 2,000 or just north of 2,000 uniforms on Capitol Police. So that's kind of the setup, and we'll move up to that day. So obviously, there was and also Jeff, feel free if something notes to you that you want to dwell on further, just you can interrupt at any point.
Absolutely.
But
Go ahead.
so moving up towards January 6th, obviously the department had some experience with riots and protests. Be up the Black Lives Matter protests were a massive feat for all of Washington D.C.
Mhm.
For the entire summer of 2020. But so obviously there was intelligence that there was going to be a rally at the White House.
Mhm.
Trump was going to hold his big thing at the White House or in front of the White House there. And numbers wise, oh, there's going to be 5,000, there's going to be 10,000, 15,000. It wasn't really clear. But like any proactive law enforcement agency, they set guys in the crowd, in plain clothes, try to just kind of quote unquote keep an eye on things. And they're reporting back to us. And as far as what Capitol Grounds' setup was um, basically the lawn, we'll call it, around the Capitol, all the way out to the first roadway that you would hit going north, south, east, and west away from the Capitol building.
Mhm.
All those roadways had either some kind of a bike rack or snow fencing, which is like just plastic. Um, an 8-year-old can get through snow fencing if they want to.
Right.
You know, so that was kind of like quote unquote layer one, and then outside of that, there was no more like real physical barrier to kind of like supersede or move out of the way or anything like that. Um, so the different CDU units were staged around the Capitol building, like a team on the north side, team on the south side. There might have been a team like inside the Capitol, but we don't know if anything's gonna happen. We don't know. Definitely they're coming down to the Capitol. Like everything's kind of just like, well, we'll just stage and see how the day goes. And so I was on a bus with 3 other guys, and we were on the north side. And I get to work. We get on our bus. We get all of our gear, and we have like our lowers on, and which is like from the waist down, all of our protection and stuff. And the Capitol Hill is not far from Union Station, which is the largest metro station. So obviously you see like all the red hats and everything.
Mhm.
And obviously with this being a lot of political banter with your channel and everything like that, I will state just for the record that I did vote for Trump uh, in 2020, and I did again this go around. But I so just keep just for putting it on record, I'll just state that. But anyway, so obviously droves of people are heading down to the White House, and so I'm like, oh wow, this is going to be a lot of people, and we're hearing on the radio this, hearing on the radio that, but nothing really going on. And then all of a sudden, our intel guys are stating that the speech is kind of concluded, is wrapping up, and people are departing in all different directions. And then it gets reported that there's a large group heading towards the Capitol building, which isn't of concern. We're not going to race to get anything set up. We've got, like that outer layer that I mentioned, there are some not plain clothes, but in just regular uniformed officers at a lot of those like sidewalks and areas where a pathway would lead from a roadway to the Capitol.
Okay, I want to jump in for just a second because you gave me some gold here. You received
Yep.
intelligence that Trump was wrapping up and people were headed to the Capitol. You said that, right?
Yeah, so there was I can't remember like exact verbiage on the radio, but I
Mhm.
think there was like, a pocket of people here, pocket of people there. It wasn't like, oh, the entire crowd is headed this way, but it was like
Right.
there are,
Okay.
some groups headed their way.
And the reason I stop you for that is just because President Trump was almost a full hour late starting his speech from when he said he was going to.
Hmm.
And he was still giving that speech while the first people were, a good, you could tell me how much of a walk it is in time from where he was to where the building was, but people were basically breaking in like as he was finishing the speech still, because he was so
Okay.
late. So I just didn't know if you guys knew that there were already people breaching at the time that like he was still talking.
Yeah,
Because
I have no idea. I mean, like I said, I'm just trying to base off what I can
sure,
remember.
yeah, no, and
And
also with the
and
politics, because you said you voted for Trump a couple times. I very intentionally did not look at your stuff at all because I was like, I don't want to even know. I mean,
yeah, sure.
it's fine now, but going into it, I was like, it doesn't matter if he is like a diehard mega lefty lib. Like, I really want this perspective, and I don't want to taint
Yeah.
that. So go,
Yeah.
but go on. So you didn't really have that come across the wire, but you did get told he was
Yeah.
wrapping up.
From what I recall, it was mentioned that the speech was concluding, but I can't say concretely, you know what I mean? Like if those words were used, but I just do
Sure.
remember, um, the mentioning that groups were headed that way. And so like, the first line of defense is like these bike racks and snow fencing, as pathetic as that is. And,
Mm-hmm.
um, I didn't find this out till later, obviously through like, videos on social media and stuff, but it appeared like a group, had walked up to the bike rack and, you know, um, at that moment in time, there was like 3 or 4 officers that were at that first kind of initial contact, and things were cordial, shouting back and forth. But from my perspective, and my perspective only not using videos afterwards that I watched,
Mm-hmm.
um, at one point, there was a sergeant that was down there in that group, and um, you can just tell by the way someone talks on a radio, whether on a police radio, whether it's all things are good or if like I'm scared for my life. And this guy was like screaming at the top of his lungs, and this is like a big dude,
Mm-hmm.
and he's just screaming help, which like how can I help you if you don't tell me like where you are, what's going on, you know what I mean? And so he's like, they breached the bike rack. We need help. We need help. He's screaming at the top of his lungs. So now we're scrambling, getting the rest of our gear on. And there's some roadways that lead um, just inside, like it's kind of hard to describe geographically. Um, the layout, I guess, without having like a bird's eye and showing you on a map. But there are
Mm-hmm.
like single lane roads that you can park pretty close to the Capitol. And so we used one of those like access roads because that was the closest that we could get our bus to the west side of the Capitol. And so we got our bus like 3/4 of the way down, and then we had to run across the huge long sidewalk. And as we're running across the sidewalk, we can see down the hill at the crowd that's breached past those bike racks. So it's kind of like a race. Our group of like 25 guys versus like, the initial group of,
A horde. I mean, it'd be a horde at that. I imagine, right?
yeah,
It's
yeah, it's
like,
it's like a race between, yeah, us and like a large group of people. So honestly, we kind of like met at, and now granted I got to pause because the lower west terrace on a normal given day is what it looks like probably right now, which is like 2 large staircases on either side of a large fountain that go up all the way to the, and then once you get to the top of the stairs, you're at the foundation of the building, like windows and doors right into the building. And that's how it normally would be set up. But because the inauguration was upcoming, they do this whole renovation to that lower west terrace and make like a stage, and they make a media tower, and all this scaffolding goes up, which we've all seen the photos. So like that's why it looks the way it did. There's like all these like metal poles and scaffolding and like tarps and stuff. Um, and granted, me being a newer officer and it being my first inauguration, because I started in 2017, I
mhm.
had never like had eyes on of what that layout looks like. So I didn't really know like where I was when I was down there, because it was like, they board up certain sidewalks and certain stairways, and like so it's hard to find where you're going. Anyway, we kind of clash and get with that big cluster of people. We meet there at like the same time. So we start this like shoulder to shoulder single file line side by side, and we're the initial people to get the crowd to stop. And that's it. You got like 30 officers side by side, and there's hundreds of people in front of you. And they stop and they stay a couple feet away from us, and it's all, the language at that point was kind of like, all right, you already breached that first layer of fencing. Like, this is as far as it goes. We're going to let you do your thing out here. You want to shout, whatever, but this is as far as it goes. And you got some people that are way more animated and loud and crazy, and some people that are like, okay, okay. And slowly and slowly, more officers are rolling in, so now our shoulder to shoulder length line is getting a little wider, and we can kind of expand out a little bit. But being up on that area, you can see all the way down to the Washington Monument. And I remember looking up, and just more and more people are heading this way. I mean, as far as my eyes could see.
Wow.
And honestly, Jeff, like it occurred to me at that moment that we're fucked. We're totally fucked. And like, we were not ready. And
Right.
I'm looking at them like, dude, we're gonna need. I mean, even if like, I'm just like, I don't even know what we need, but I'm just like, we are so fucked. And um, I can't tell you what was like the straw that broke the camel's back, or like what the fuse was to make this whole thing powder keg blow up. But at some point, things started to get physical, and I don't recall like oh yeah, it was this exact guy did this exact thing, and that's what caused it all. It was just a tense situation, and at one point, somebody went for it, and then the other person did, and then a person 5 people down did, and next thing you know, it was a shoving, swinging, fighting match. And you had people crawling up on these like media towers, and um, they're throwing rocks at us, throwing stuff at us. They're ripping light poles out of the ground. They're charging us with the light pole as like a battering ram. Um, we're pepper spraying. I apologize if my voice is starting to get a little hoarse. Let me grab a beverage.
Yeah, you're good.
They're throwing stuff at us. It's a straight up riot at this point. I would classify it. And we got assets that are coming in little by little, and but I mean, we had paintball guns. We had there's a non-lethal gun called oh shoot, I don't remember, but it's basically like a really high power paintball gun. And if you're actually not supposed to shoot it at like a certain close range, because it can be lethal. And dude, I recall. Let me grab a swig of this real quick.
Okay. So while you're drinking that, is that the same paintball gun that like exploded one of those guys' testicles at one of the recent rallies, or not rally, but the
Possibly
anti-ice protests?
Dude, it's very, very possible. Like, they had showed us videos that like they put a sheet of plywood up, OSB plywood, and shot it from like 6 feet away, and it blew a hole right through it, just like a shotgun slug would.
Yeah, that's probably the same thing.
Yeah,
brutal, but yeah,
dude,
I get
there
it.
was a guy. Dude, there was a guy in front of me that had his cheek blown off. He looked like Harvey Dent from Batman. Like,
oh wow, yeah.
Like, I could see, how like Harvey Dent, you could see like his molars in the back of his mouth.
Right.
Yeah, this guy, he had like a paper towel, like just on the hole, and I'm like, "Are you like?" I remember like, "Dude, we can try to get you some help," and he's just like, "F you, F you," and he pulled the paper towel away, and I'd never seen anything like that in my life. Like, it was crazy.
Yeah. Yeah, that's brutal. I had in the chat says, "Is that what shot through the guy's cheek?" Probably. Yeah, he just
no,
it
that's
up, so
what it was.
That's what it was.
Yep, it had to have been what it was. I mean, because a paintball gun. I mean, maybe a paintball gun point blank would do it, but like where they were shooting from was like the next deck up higher behind us, and there was like, if I'm remember correct, there was maybe like 2 or 3 paintball shooters, and they were shooting like pepper ball paintballs, which when they explode, there's like a little plume of white smoke. And that plume of like white powder smoke is like pepper. And so you can like shoot it on the ground, and then the vapors will emit from the ground and make you back away a little bit, or hopefully try to get you back away. But I'll be honest with you, like, dude, these people were like tough as nails. Like, I mean, like these people were tough as nails. Like, um, I watched guys get just doused in the face with Saber Red, which is our pepper spray, and it's orange and it's foamy, and they just wipe it away and just kept coming. Like it was crazy, man. I'm sure people, got a little boozed up or whatever, probably 4 ran or whatever, and got some like liquid courage in them or something. Maybe, I don't know, or maybe they just have it in their bones. But like, just tough people, and but yeah, it was an all out brawl, and I lost my radio within the first like minute and a half of the whole thing. So the thought in my mind of, what am I going to do if they drag me out of here? What are they going to do if they drag me into the crowd? Like, I can't even call for help. You know what I mean?
Right.
Um,
Wow.
So like 7 years in the Army, 1 deployment, and I'll be honest with you, Jeff. Like in that moment, it was one of the most scared I've ever been in my entire life. Like, I'm man enough to tell you that. And I just was really conscious of where I was stepping, trying not to like, put myself out there too much by myself and get dragged in the crowd and get beat up or anything. I mean, they're swinging poles, bats.
Right.
I remember a fire extinguisher being used on somebody at one point. I was just so thankful that I had protective gear on from head to toe. So thankful. I mean, my CDU helmet had a large laceration across the back of it. Don't know what hit me in the back of the head, but something hard. So, we're back and forth. At one point, bike racks get introduced, and we're kind of keeping a little bit of a distance between us and the crowd. So they used that opportunity to try to bring bike racks in, link them all together, and that was going to be like our new wall. Well, dude, the thing about like bike racks is like they're movable. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah, you
it's
just pick it
not
up and move it.
like
It's not
a great defense. You know what I mean? It's not rock solid. You can pick it up and toss it, and essentially that's what happened. Was they were good for like a half an hour, and then they just started getting taken apart, disassembled, and used as walls to push us and stuff like that. Well, at one point, finally, I'm sure their numbers got so high, they probably started getting around the sides of us. And at some point, someone said basically like retreat, right? So like get the hell out of Dodge. And so I remember, slowly retreating. And I was one of the few to be blessed with a shield. It was like a little 4-foot plexiglass shield. And excuse me. And there's steps involved. My CDU screen, the screen in front of me is, I've got a gas mask on, so I have limited visibility, and I've got spray across my mask, so it's like orange. I'm trying to wipe it away, so just can't really see what you're doing. And there's a single stairway behind me that we have to get up, single person wide stairway. So you're trying to get hundreds of officers packed into this little stairwell. And I remember, since having a shield, I'm like, well, I'll be one of the ones to like linger back, and I'll try to use the shield to like cover our retreat. And I knew I had some steps coming up behind me, and there was just shit all over the ground, dude. I mean, you've been to a concert, and when the lights turn on, you just see garbage all over the place. Like, that's what the ground looked like. I mean, there's a lot of detail that I'm probably skipping through. I remember at one point, a guy bled through the line, and like one of our soft squad guys that ended up actually being my sergeant tackled the guy, and in the midst of the tackle, a revolver slid out and was slid across the ground, and they both went down, and it slid out in front of them, and it was kind of like a movie scene where they both kind of like looked at each other, looked at the gun, looked at each other, looked at the gun, like, what are we gonna do? Who's gonna go for it? And luckily my sergeant like leapt for it, but when he leapt for it, the guy that he tackled that it fell out of like his pants or something ran back into the crowd. So he just put the revolver in his cargo pocket. And at the end of the day, at like 1 a.m., he was like, "Oh shit, I forgot I had this in my pocket," and he pulled it out. It was still loaded and everything. Um, but so we're retreating, and there's stuff all over
Mhm.
the ground, and I get shoved by a guy as I'm looking back over my shoulder to see where like I'm stepping. I go down to the ground and just get completely dogpiled at that point. And the shield gets ripped out of my hands. They take my shield, and honestly, like all training and everything, like it was sucked right out of me at that point because
You're at the
I
bottom of a
didn't.
dog pile, dude. Like it's
I'm
serious.
in the bottom
Yeah.
of a dog pile. I got a gun on my hip, man. Like
Yeah.
they train you like to defend your gun. Like don't let them get your gun. So I mean, I have my left hand on my gun. I'm a lefty, and I'm basically just like kicking and screaming and punching, just like flailing like a fish out of water. I'm not even trying to do any like hardcore wrestling, Brazilian jiu jitsu bullshit. Like I'm just literally just kicking and punching like a flailing person that's being electrocuted.
Mhm.
And and I was screaming, and I'm just screaming help and get off of me and get off of me and help. And dude, I'm I'm like 200 pounds, and you put all the gear on, add another like 30.
Mhm.
And I found this out like 2 days later, but a guy on my department, um, soaking wet, like no joke, soaking wet. He's probably 130 pounds. And dude, he picked me up like I was a pillow and dragged me out of there.
Wow.
And yeah, dragged me, grabbed me basically by my shoulder straps and just started pulling me backwards while he's just getting absolutely hammered. Um, But I mean, they were trying to rip my gas mask off. They lifted it up and sprayed spray underneath the gas mask. So at this point, I can't even see out my right eye. And I eventually get to my feet. I basically have to I'm basically like blind. So I'm like holding somebody as I'm walking up the stairs. I just keep falling, going up the stairs because I can't like see the step in front of me. I get to the top of the steps. I wipe my face. I open up my left eye, and I just remember there was a Capital guy there, and he I don't know if he's a sergeant, lieutenant, or whatever. And he's like, if you need help, if you need to get to safety, go this way. And he's pointing. And because, like I said, I mean, this is a whole stage setup for the inauguration. I have no freaking clue where to go. I've never
Mhm.
been on that stage before. And so he points in this direction. I go up there. And when I get to the top, there's like OD green, like a CDU unit that's in full OD greens top to bottom. So my interpretation was obviously an outside law enforcement agency. I don't know. I can't even tell you to this day. I don't know exactly who they were. They could have been Virginia State Police. They could have been Maryland so and so. They could have been who knows. They might have even been a DC Metropolitan Unit. I don't know. And but there was probably like 80, I don't know, 60 or 80 of them. And I just thought to myself, like, oh my God, thank God. Like, you can take over for a little while. Like, I'm taking a freaking break. So I get behind them, and there's a case of water there. So I rip my helmet off, rip my gas mask off, and just start splashing water in my face because I can't see. And I'm also exhausted. I mean, it was like, I don't know how long I was down there for. And just fighting. And mind you, I don't have a radio. And mind you, I was with 25 people to start this whole thing, 25 of
Mhm.
like, quote unquote, my team. And when I get behind this group of CD units and start washing myself off, I'm looking around and I don't see a single member of my team. And I'm like, that's not good.
Yeah.
Um, are they out there in the crowd? Are they getting their ass kicked? Are they alive? Like, so I kind of start getting honestly a little bit emotional. Like, I'm like, what, did I leave them behind? Da da
Mhm.
da. Well, I'm looking around and, oh, I see one. Oh, I see another. Oh, I see another. And we kind of start grouping up, and I get like 5 or 6 of us together, and we're all just kind of like collecting ourselves and going like, holy shit, what the fuck is happening? Like, this is crazy. Did you see where this person went? Did you see where that person went? Long story short, we were able to kind of account for like where everybody went. So we felt confident that everyone was like, quote unquote, okay, at least.
Alive.
Yeah, hopefully alive. And it was at this point that um, I'm overhearing other people's radios. Because, like I said, I don't have a radio anymore. So I really have no idea what's going on over here, over there, whatever. And I hear breach. The Capitol's been breached on the radio while I'm standing there. And so now I know they're inside, but we're still having this like crazy onslaught battle outside. So, that's the thing. The Capitol is such a large building. Like, they could have breached on the north side or the east side or the south side. Like, I can only account for what I was doing, and that was on the west side. And we were, for the most part, doing a decent job of holding them back. Um, I mean, kind of.
Right.
Basically, we had to. Eventually, I mean, I think they got up to the windows at one point, but I mean, we held them back for at least a little while. So I heard they're breached. I heard they're making their way towards this way. They're making their way towards that way. And then next thing I hear is shots fired on the radio.
Mhm.
I'm still outside. I'm still, you know, cleansing myself or whatever, collecting myself. I'm also getting my phone out of my pocket and trying to call my sergeant and go, "Hey, are we rallying back up? Like, where are you? Do you have these guys?" Like, we're trying to like get some accountability of where everyone is. And he tells me that they're inside the Capitol and they're at the speaker's office, which at the time would be Pelosi.
Mhm.
And he's like, "I've got most of the guys at the speaker's office. We're just collecting ourselves, and then we're going to head back out and start trying to push people out of the building." And I go, "Okay, I'm going to make my way around the south door of the Capitol, and I'll come in the south door because that's pretty close to the speaker's office, and I'll meet you there." And he goes, "Okay." And I put my phone back in my pocket. And this is at the time, shots fired. And I'm like, shots fired? What the hell? So I make my way around to the south door. And it's funny because there's like just, rioters, protesters, whatever you want to call them, just walking out of the Capitol, out of the south door, like they just finished a tour. you know?
Right.
And here I
Just
am. And I'm
chill.
like, dude, like literally 2 minutes ago, someone just said shots fired from inside this building. So I'm like, are there still gunshots going off? Is there a gunfight happening in here? Like,
Mhm.
what happened? As soon as I basically get through like the vestibule, like entryway area and get into like the main hallway, there's a female in a pool of blood laying right there on the floor. And later find out that that's Ashley Babbitt. And there's, I don't know, 4 or 5 Capitol police officers kneeled down next to her, doing compressions, packing her wound. But I can tell you right now, like I knew immediately she was dead.
Okay.
Um,
Now, I'm sorry to make you relive this at all. So stop
no,
me if
dude,
you need to. But like,
no,
how
you're,
close were you? Because this is the subject of a lot of conspiracy theories. How all that went down. Like, how
yep.
close were you to Ashley? Would you say?
In that moment,
Yeah, that's the closest
literally,
you got.
literally stepped in the blood on the floor.
Okay, so you were
Like,
right there. Absolutely
yeah.
right
Now
there.
this wasn't where. Now, just for geographical layout of the building, where she was laying, where I stepped by, was not where she was initially shot. Where she was initially shot was in a different location, and they moved her down to this location where I walked by. And the reason they did that is because they needed to get her in an ambulance.
Mhm.
And just getting an ambulance to the Capitol building with all these people all over the place was going to take a very long time. And, um, just, I mean, I can't tell you how long it took the ambulance to get there, but it took a long time. That's why they didn't just get her right outside. And where they did was the closest they could get the ambulance was to South Barricade, and which is a heavy barricaded area where vehicles can get up on the plaza. Like I think when Trump just did his State of the Union address, they drove through South Barricade to pull the limousine up. But
Gotcha.
so the ambulance was staged there, so they did what they could inside to try to resuscitate and stabilize her, and then they carried her out to the ambulance, loaded her up, and she was gone. But yeah, I mean, they had AED, medical kit, gauze, bandages, trying to like do what they could. But I mean, from what I can tell, non-medical minded person, not a doctor, she was shot probably right in her carotid through her neck. I mean, so there was just no way,
Right. Have you
because
hunted?
like,
I know it's a
like I'm a,
weird question.
I'm a, you, like the reason I say that though too is because like, I mean, I've been on a lot of like death incidents being in law enforcement,
Right.
and so much blood, dude. Like so much blood. So
You're
that's why
familiar
another
with
reason I say
you're
that
I
is I've
was
never
yeah,
been
I'm
in an
not trying to
incident with that.
yeah, I'm trying to be as like not horrible as possible to be like, do you know what real blood looks like versus fake blood? Because and you're like cuz I've hunted a lot. I've fished a lot.
Yep. Yep.
I've had a lot of dead animals. Yesterday or 2 days ago, I had a dead animal I had to deal with. So very familiar with real blood versus fake bloods. Hollywood blood, crisis actor blood, because that is a thing that exists in the world.
Sure.
But this one, I mean, you're very confident she died absolutely, and it was a lot of real blood on the ground.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Okay.
And I mean, we can like circle back to that whole like thing because I really do think it's like important, like for people. I mean, just like I understand, like a lot of people are upset about that shooting, and I sympathize with that. Like, no one deserves to get shot and killed. Like, I mean, you never
Yeah.
want to see things like that.
Unarmed
Um,
woman. I right. I understand. There's a lot of
you know,
upsetnedness about that. But go on.
yeah. So anyway, so we can circle back to that, but um, as far as my path that day, so to speak. So I see that incident going on, but I'm still trying to get to the speaker's office to link up with my team. So, I mean, I'm walking in as protesters and stuff are walking past me, and it's like, I don't know, it just like was totally unconventional to like, how you're trained. You're going into a building where someone just said shots fired. Like, shouldn't I have my gun out and be like prepared
Right.
at
Yeah.
any second to be shot at? Like, clearly, if there's shots fired, someone's probably got a weapon in here potentially. Like, there's just so vague of information. And I mean, just like any major incident in the world, when they look back on it and try to criticize what could we have done better, like the number one thing that always is a failure is communication. And that's what I would say this day was like, just total and utter messed up communication. But anyway, um, get to the speaker's office, link up with kind of my team again. And they go, we need bodies in the rotunda. We need people in the rotunda immediately. So make my way up to the rotunda, and it was essentially force on force. We make a line. They have a group, and we have to push this large group, hundreds of people. And we're trying to funnel them through a double doorway. And this double door doorway is on the east front of the Capitol. So you look at if you look at the Capitol from the east side, there's three staircases: the staircase for the Senate, the staircase for the House, the staircase for the middle, where it goes right up in the rotunda. It's where they like carry the caskets when they do like a lying in state. And so that doorway at the top of that staircase is where we're trying to push people out of. There's hundreds of people you're trying to fit through a double door. So it's a log jam. It's going to take a long time. And so we're pushing. And I mean, they're kicking, they're fighting, they're pushing, we're pushing. It's just back and forth, back and forth. Finally, after however knows how long that was, we get them through this double door. I've somehow commandeered another shield again. I don't know how. I can't even remember how I got a shield. I don't know if somebody handed it to me or whatever. But so what we basically do is those doors at the top are called like, I think they were called like mag lock doors, which is a magnetized lock. So it's not even like a deadbolt or like anything like that. It's just a really, really strong magnet. But the problem is you have to like hold the door closed for a certain amount of time and then activate a key to get that magnet to engage. And it's a super strong magnet. I mean, I think maybe eventually if you have like 7 people pulling at the same time, you might be able to get it to
Yeah, it's
break.
like
I don't know.
Captain America elevator magnet. I got you. Yeah.
Yeah. And one of the doors is propped open. The other one we were able to get magnet closed. And but one of the doors is open and we can't get it closed. So I'm like, well, I'll just hold my shield here in this doorway and we'll keep them out on the steps. They can stay out on the steps. Who cares? As long as they're not in the building. Let's just get the building clear first. So, I make like a shield wall with like 2 or 3 other buddies and we're holding them back and they're not really fighting us anymore. Like I think they had enough. And so they were just like kind of like quote unquote partying out on the steps, we'll call it.
Mhm.
I mean, what happens next is kind of a head scratcher. So bear with me, but I'll just
Go
tell you
ahead.
what
Yeah.
happened and you interpret it the way you want. So I look out in the crowd and here comes a Capitol Police uniformed officer. He's out in the middle of the crowd. He's walking towards me. And he's wearing a Make America Great Again baseball hat. And then every other part of him is wearing a US Capitol police uniform. And I'm like, why does he have that hat on? Like, why is and this is, by the way, I won't name names, but this is a lieutenant within the Capitol Police. Okay.
Okay.
So he's like higher ranking. Like, so, he's supposed to wear like one of those like police hats, we'll call it. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
I don't know, like,
Sure.
just like a weird octagon shaped cap, but he's wearing this MAGA hat. And I'm like, what the hell? Well, he's got these like 3 guys with him that are in like, if you didn't know any better, you'd look at them as like, oh, these guys were like Navy SEAL, like they're like quote unquote like off duty Navy SEALs. So they're wearing like BDU pants, like uh, uh, a skin tight t shirt with like a tactical jacket and like a baseball hat with a Velcro patch on the top that says like OEF or whatever. I don't even know what they had on them, but I'm like, who are these guys? So they walk up to the shield and the lieutenant's looking at me and he's like, move out of the way, let me in. And I'm like, okay. So I open the shield and he squeezes through and I close my shield. And then these like 3, we'll call them tactical guys are standing there. And they're like, we're with him. And I'm like, you're not coming in here. Like, I don't know who you are. And the lieutenant grabs me and he pulls me back and he says, they're with me, let them in. And I'm like, fuck you. No, I'm not letting these guys in. Like, I don't even know who these guys are. And he's like, they're with me. That's an order. Open up the shield. So I do it. And these guys come in and they had patches on their shoulder that said Oath Keeper. Oath Keepers? I believe that's like some kind of group. I
Yeah.
don't know
I
what
don't know a
their
lot about them,
beliefs
but
are.
I've heard of them. So, okay. So the Oath Keepers were with him. Interesting.
Yeah, so he had like 3 Oath Keeper guys with him. And, they're all like paramilitary kind of appearance guys. And they're standing there and I can't really hear what they're saying. But for whatever reason, I I later found out what he was doing, and I guess it's better for me to tell you that now so that it makes sense what he was doing.
Mm-hmm.
He was outside with the crowd and he put a MAGA hat on, and this lieutenant thought that by putting a MAGA hat on, it would allow him to um, have a little bit of a relationship with the crowd so that maybe he could actually have some open dialogue with them.
Mm-hmm.
So he put the hat on and be like, oh yeah, like I'm a Trump guy like you guys, da da da. Like, so like, listen, guys, we gotta like diet down a little bit. You guys gotta chill out, da da da. I think he was kind of having those types of conversations with people in the crowd, which how one guy is gonna do that with 20,000 people, I don't know,
Yeah.
but that's what his brain told him to do. And later there was video recording, and this is what I'll mention because it makes sense now. He had his radio up to him and he was listening to his radio. And on the radio, at one point, there was some kind of communication put out over the radio that there was officers in the rotunda that needed rescuing. Okay.
Mhm.
So he's like, oh my God, officers need help up there. And apparently these oath keepers were standing with him at the time. And I don't know if they overheard the radio as well or what, but they approached him and he approached them, one or the other. And he said, I can use your guys' help. I need to rescue some officers from the rotunda. And these oath keepers were like, oh, well, we want to help you because we don't want to see officers get hurt. So they rushed up there to the rotunda. But the thing was, is like when that got put on the radio to when he showed up to the rotunda was like a 20 or 30-minute window. And in that 20 or 30 minutes, we cleared the entire rotunda out by that point, and everything was like quote unquote secure and safe. Like nobody needed rescuing.
Mhm.
Um, so
It went up
I
for
think
another
he
reason. Like, we don't know.
so
Yeah, that's the
yeah, I don't know what like who put that out over the radio that they needed rescuing or who needed help, but like
that was a
by
code.
the time he got there with oath keepers, everything was good, like for the most part. You know what I mean? Like
Mhm.
obviously there were maybe some other parts in within the Capitol building that had some outlier protesters in them, but as far as like our area that we were handling, we got everything under control. And so I think honestly, what happened, Jeff, is like he got up there, he told these guys that they could help, and then there was no help that was needed. And I think in his brain, he was thinking, well, I still got to like do something to make these guys like feel like good. I don't know. I don't know because
Mhm.
we ended up marching out of that doorway outside to the hundreds of people. And so it looked like we were like, quote unquote, being rescued, I guess. It was like a freaking parade. I don't know. It was so stupid. I was totally fucking pissed off. Um, it started a whole chain reaction, internal investigation. And long story short, that lieutenant ended up getting like demoted to like officer level or something. And then I think he ended up leaving the Capitol Police. And I think now he's like running for like political office or something. I have no idea. I mean, I don't really know what he was doing. I mean, it made no sense.
Mhm.
And apparently it was just a chain in the multiple things of weird things that he did that day. Um, and we break off from him after like halfway through this dog and pony show, whatever the fuck it was. Um, we make our way back inside the Capitol, and now it turns into like all the people are basically away from the Capitol. I believe by this point, like some National Guard are finally kind of rolling in. There's a lot of like outside law enforcement rolling in. And so they're tasked with like, okay, clear these people like as far the fuck away from the building as possible. So basically, like as far as the Capitol Police goes, as far as at least my squad, we were kind of like, okay, chill, finally. And this was probably like 8:30 at night.
Mhm.
So I mean, I first got down at the start of this story when that first barricade was like breached and the guy was screaming help on the radio. That was probably like 12:30, 1
Yeah,
o'clock.
that's 8 hours. Yeah, I was gonna say, holy cow.
And yeah, like 8:30 is finally like, okay, guys, this is our spot to like gear down and collect yourselves. And so I finally like take my helmet off, take all my stuff off. There was a water fountain. I just like sat underneath the water fountain for like well, 20 minutes. Um, just kind of hugging it out with the other guys because I mean, it was pretty emotional. Like to be honest with you, like
Mhm.
I mean, adrenaline is a fucking incredible thing. Because I mean, like my engine just like never stopped. You know what I mean? Which is like looking back on it now is like, how did I even like withstand what I withstood? But so we got downtime, but then it kind of turned into I was like, should we just be like sitting around here not doing anything? I was like, dude, there's so many hundreds of people in here. Like somebody could have easily like planted an explosive device in here and no one would know. You know what I mean? And then members of Congress walk these halls. You know what I mean?
Right.
And so then it turned into like bringing all the canines and the bomb squads, and the officers started like checking every nook and cranny, top and bottom of the entire building. You know, and also like a person could be hiding under a desk. You know, a protester that broke in. You know what I mean? So it turned into like full clear the building, top to bottom. And then it's like 10:30, and they're like, or maybe even like 11, and they're like, oh, Congress wants to reconvene. They're going to reconvene, like the House and the Senate or something. And I'm like, do they not know what just occurred here? Like, how about you just give it a break and go home for the night and reconvene tomorrow? But no, I think they wanted to do the political stunt and show you're not going to stop us from, you know, you're not going to stop Congress from running or whatever. Like, turn the cameras back on, turn C-SPAN back on. Like, let us go back and do our quote unquote work. And so I was in statuary hall. Yeah, statuary hall, which is more so towards the house side of the Capitol building. And we're all just sitting around on there, like laying around on the floor, just totally defeated, exhausted. And, it kind of pissed me off, but members of Congress start coming out and like shaking our hands and like, thanks for everything, guys. Like, what happened out there? Are you guys okay? Do you need anything? But my thing is like, from a human level, cool. Like, you want to come rub my back, tell me I did good, fine. Shake my hand, check in on me. But like, don't put a camera on my face.
Yeah.
And dude, like all these congressmen and congresswomen did it so that they could post it to their social media. Like, look how much I care about the Capitol Police. Look at how I'm up here asking them what they need and giving them hugs and, and shaking their hands. I'm like, that makes, to me personally, it's like you're disingenuous when you do shit like that. Like, you're doing it out of a with a social media mindset, not
Right.
a actually passionate giving a fuck mindset. Um, then they brought like some catered food in, bottles of water. Um, then my sergeant is like, "Oh fuck, I forgot this in my pocket." And he pulls out a loaded handgun. Um, and I'm like, "Yeah, I actually saw you fucking grab that." Um, we just, we're all just like, "What's gonna happen from here on out? Like, how did this happen?" We're all just like brainstorming shit. What happened to you? What happened to you? We're all sharing our stories. Um, and I think by the time that I got back to headquarters, which is where like my locker and everything is, it was definitely after midnight. I think it was closer to like 2 a.m. And you know, bear spray and pepper spray and all those things they aggravate and they re-agitate when you like rub them around and move them around. Like if you doused a t-shirt and hung it on a line, came back an hour later and shook the t-shirt, you'd feel pepper spray again because it's
Mm.
like soaked into the fabric. So as we're like taking off all of our gear, we're just like choking to death again. And we were just so tired we didn't care. Threw it all into hockey bags, closed the duffel bags, closed, threw them in lockers, and just headed home. And I think I didn't get home till like 3 or 4 in the morning, and then had to be back at 8 a.m. And then from then on out, man, it was just either CDU or some kind of task force or something like that from then until like May. And it was just 16-hour shifts, just working my ass off, basically. I mean, they didn't know what was going to happen. There was all this secondary intelligence of more events type like that going to happen, and so everyone was kind of like on edge, I think, for a little while. And then I think it was when was it, like April? Yeah, and then we had another incident where an officer got killed. But it was unrelated to like January 6th or anything.
Right.
But it was just like
Right.
it was shitty. It was a shitty like few months because we had like um, one officer ingested so much bear spray and then they stole pepper spray from us. So I don't know if it was bear spray or pepper spray or whatever it was, but he ingested so much that it induced a stroke. And he died inside the Capitol building. They couldn't get an ambulance to him. That was one guy. And then like the next day, a guy blew his head off, suicide. And like 2 days later, a guy I worked with killed himself. So we had like 3 officers dead in like 72 hours. And that fucked a lot of people up. And then you had Metropolitan guy kill himself. And then like 3 months later, an officer get run over by a car. Guy got out with a knife and tried to stab him afterwards. And one of our canines guys shot him in the head. But yeah, I mean, they made us do group therapy. They forced us to do it. They brought in like therapy dogs that were like basically living with us at work. But I don't know. We just started finding out more and more shit about how unprepared the department was, and we can get into that if you want to.
Right. Yeah, I didn't want
But
to hit you with too many like questions while you were telling the account. So, but I do
yeah, yeah,
have
yeah. But that's
questions that have
basically
come
my
through.
day was that. Yeah.
Okay. No, I really appreciate it. So for one, I just want to say, I posted a video. I can't remember if it was yesterday or the day before, something like that. The Congress and Senate, or the Senate, I believe, they're dragging their ass on this SAVE Act, and they literally had a puppy parade, and then they came out with a January 6th plaque. And I, very reactionary, was saying how unbelievable that they went with this thing, and they had like, in lieu of all the people that died in an event memorial type thing, they posted the
Mm-hmm.
wording for like all of the counties that sent someone, when they should have sent 10,000 National Guard that were rejected
Correct.
repeatedly, which we could get into later. And so it was just like, there's so many layers to this. I have like videos, endless videos of like busloads of people in Antifa gear getting out of buses and changing into MAGA gear and then getting into the crowd. And people, there's chatter about Azov Battalion Ukrainian mercenaries who embedded themselves into the crowd. And then
Mm-hmm.
there's, obviously, like you said, there's the standard procedure of some, plainclothes officers that, that there's nothing nefarious about that necessarily. But with the FBI at that time, like I'm in Georgia. So in Georgia, we had the FBI come down. I live about an hour away from where they faked the water leak and brought the suitcases full of ballots out from under the desk after they kicked the observers out. So that
Okay.
place is right up the street from me. And so um, I know that the feds showed up and actually supported a shredding company that was shredding those ballots when we were trying to check them. And like
Mm-hmm.
the feds are so corrupt, so corrupt. It's insane. And so, anyways, the point is, you guys got your ass kicked, and it doesn't really matter who the people were that did it. And I've been Black Friday shopping, so I know that a crowd can get riled up, and people who would normally be there on Sunday at church acting totally normal will act crazy in a riled up
Correct.
crowd. So I'm not saying that it wasn't any MAGA people that were punching and pushing and whatever, because it definitely was. But there were brown shirts in there that you can see the endless video. And I'm sure if you've looked at it, you've seen like the scrawny Antifa pukes running to the front and like punching a cop and running back and running up and spraying a cop and running back. And like this kind of stuff
Yeah.
was happening all around the area. And then there's the cops that were waving people into the Capitol and holding doors open and telling
Well,
them to advance in
so
different spots. So
so
go ahead.
so I'm glad you brought that up. So my one thing I'll say with that one clip that we've all seen, like the lone cop standing at a bike rack, pulling it away as to open it and waving people towards the building.
Mm-hmm.
Like, understandably so. Like, I totally agree. Like, the appearance of that is exactly what you said. Like waving them in. Here's what I'll just put out there is I don't know that officer. Couldn't name his name right now.
Mm-hmm.
But if I had to put myself in that guy's shoes and I'm standing at a fucking piece of shit bike rack and there's 100 people in front of me, even if there's 50 and they're shoving the bike rack back and forth or whatever they're doing leading up before that.
Mm-hmm.
And all I'm going to say is, I don't know what that officer was thinking. If I had to guess, he made a little bit of a business decision right there. And what I mean by that is he saw a crowd of people in front of him. He didn't see no officers around there with him. He didn't see no officers running to his aid to come help him. And he said, "You know what? Fuck this." And that's I'm telling you, man. I'm telling you, man.
I totally
I
get
think
it.
a lot of fucking guys made those types of decisions on January 6th. And that's all I'm gonna say. And you wanna know what? As I sit here, some part of me goes, I can't blame him. I can't
Right.
blame him. If
Oh,
that's what he
sure.
was thinking. If that's
Sure.
what he was thinking, if we're gonna run with that theory. And he's sitting there and he's got 50, 100, I don't know how many people there were, maybe 500. I don't know. He goes, you know what? Fuck it. Go ahead, people. Go ahead and have it. Like, as long as you don't hurt me, I want to go home and I want to sleep in my own bed tonight. Do you know what I mean?
Oh, sure.
And,
Absolutely.
and, uh, I think a lot of those types of decisions happened that day, and I'll just leave it at that.
Right. Well, I know I see one comment says, "Do you think the suicides were because of PTSD or guilt?" Obviously, there's also the third option, conspiracy. They saw something or heard something they weren't supposed to, but I don't know.
I mean, obviously, suicide is most times with suicide, it's there's not like a note given that's left out or something that tells you why. A lot of it's all it's one of the ones where you just kind of have to scratch your head at.
Yeah.
But I will say for the guy that I worked with, dude, this dude was like the most happy-go-lucky guy. Um, and for a little bit of background, I mean, I don't want to comment too much, but like
Sure.
the guy basically was like born, raised, and lived on Capitol Hill because from what I understand, is like he had family that was involved in politics. They were like chief of staff for some congressmen or something. Um, he was a Senate or House like page dorm for a while. Dude, the dude like lived and breathed Capitol Hill for like his whole childhood. Okay.
Mhm.
And then he gets on Capitol Police. He was on Capitol Police for quite some time, like north of 15 years, if I'm not mistaken. Um, but I will say, as far as like the type of guy, he like worked typically like his same posts every day. So this guy was like, we'll call him like very regimented.
Mhm.
Um, like there wasn't too many curveballs or like anything that would hinder like his day too much because he was like, show up to work at this time, go to the same work the same post for 8 hours, get in my car, drive home. So it wasn't like, hey, no, we need you to pull you to go do this. He was like, so all of a sudden, an event like January 6th happens. That's like in the mindset of a guy that's like got a very regimented like life, a
Yeah.
huge curveball. So I think like mentally that shook him to begin with. I think it also shook him. This is all my thoughts. This is all guess. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
I
Sure.
can't. He's not alive to ask him. So, um, I think just like the events that day shook him. Seeing the Capitol get like broken, battered, damaged, that probably plucked at his heartstrings a little bit because, like I said, the guy basically grew up in the building.
Mhm.
Um, so it was like a home for him. And because of all the aftermath of the six, now he's not working his same post every day anymore because there's just greater needs on the department. So he's out, like driving a patrol car or doing something that he's not used to doing for like 10, 12, 15 plus years. So now he's like out of his quote unquote comfort zone, we'll call it. This is all my thoughts, like I said.
Yeah. Yeah. You're
And
fine.
I think like a day or two after he he wrecks his patrol car and his partner's in the passenger seat, and the impact was pretty good enough to where I think the guy riding with him, broke his nose. So now that is affecting him. You know what I mean? And I think
Yeah.
just when you don't deal with enough like trauma in your life, and then you get exposed to a little bit of it, or you can maybe even consider a lot of it in a short amount of time, who knows how that's going to affect you. And I think, this guy, even though he was, I'm pretty sure he was in like his 40s. So this is like a grown ass adult. This ain't like some like 22-year-old kid that's, brain isn't fully developed yet.
Right.
Um, this is a grown man. And it was just too much for him. It was just too much overwhelming changes and traumatic stuff happening within like 72 hours that it wasn't. And then, he's probably not used to getting 3 hours of sleep. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like there's just, you keep kind of thinking of things and you can keep piling it on, and you add them all together. And for him, it was enough. But that's just the one incident that I believe I can comment on because, like I said, I worked with the guy. But again,
Mhm.
it's all my own thoughts, nothing fact. Because like I said, he didn't leave like a note or anything. So it's all kind of just a guess as to why he did what he did. But there was multiple suicides afterwards. I think I think PTSD maybe a little bit to do with some of them. Maybe, yeah, maybe a little guilt. I don't know. I don't
Yeah.
know.
And then I see somebody said there were some that felt that they were set up by Congress or used for, political reasons. As you said, when you were in the aftermath, they're like, hey, I'm so glad, thank you so
Yeah.
much for, braving this horrible storm of these evil people. It's like, you guys said no to help like ahead of
Yeah.
time.
Well, I can get into that. So,
Yeah, go ahead.
I would highly recommend if you want to keep going down like the January 6th rabbit hole. Our chief at the time, his name is Stephen Sund, Sund. I'm pretty sure Tucker Carlson interviewed him years ago. But he has a really good X account, and he's basically the only content that he puts on his X account is January 6th factual information, and because he kept all the receipts, he actually wrote a good book. And that's a decent read if you want to go down that route. But in my almost 6 years with Capitol Police, we had 3 different police chiefs in that time. He was by far, bar none, like the best chief. Very proactive. He came from Metropolitan DC Police. He was a go-getter. He's a very aggressive cop. Even though he was the chief and had gold stars on his collar,
Right.
he would make traffic stops. Like, this guy was like what you want your sheriff to be in your county. Like, you know what I mean? So he has all the receipts, and what we find out later is that basically how decisions get made with Capitol Police is, management within Capitol Police says, yeah, like for example, with January 6th, hey, we don't have direct intelligence that says they're going to storm the Capitol. We have nothing in writing that says that's going to happen. But let's prepare for the worst.
Mhm.
So let's ask the Capitol Police Board, which I'm going to get into, let's ask their permission to have National Guard on standby. And I can't remember the exact receipts that he has, but I don't know if that was January 2nd. I don't know if that was, January 1st. I don't know, but it was like, within a week of January 6th. And, or maybe even farther than a week. I can't remember. But, so the Capitol Police Board is who the chief has to go to. So he goes to the Capitol Police Board. Well, the board is made up of 4 people. One member is the chief of police for Capitol Police. One person is called the architect of the Capitol. I can get into that. And then there's the House Sergeant at Arms and the Senate Sergeant at Arms. And the architect of the Capitol is essentially like, we'll call it like maintenance division for the U.S. Capitol building. And if you're called the head of the architect of the Capitol, you're basically like the head maintenance guy for the entire U.S. Capitol and Capitol grounds. So you're in charge of, and they've got woodworkers, plumbers, electricians, like they got everything.
Yeah, it's a big operation. Right.
It's a massive operation. Yep, painters, drywallers, everybody. So those are the 4 entities. So if you think about it, you got one guy that's law enforcement minded because he's the police chief, and you got 3 people that are not law enforcement minded whatsoever. And it goes to a vote. You say, hey, can we ask Congress to get the National Guard to just be standby? And I believe he was successful. And they said, yep, we'll make the request. And actually, man, I don't want to be misinformative. They might have denied him first. And then, a day or 2 goes by, and then he had to ask them again. And then they might have changed their mind. So I can't remember for sure. But long story short, then it has to go. So they go, yeah, we'll ask. Well, who do they ask? Who, which part of Congress do they ask? Do they go ask all 535 members of the House? Do they go ask all 100 members of the Senate? No. They, Nancy Pelosi's office is who they have to speak with. She's the Speaker of the House. She's quote unquote the head of Congress in a sense. And her office says no. And the answer that they get is because of optics. They don't like the thought of men and women in military uniform, what that will look like on national TV standing around the Capitol building. That was their answer. Optics. So what it looked like around the Capitol building was more important than the safety and security of people around the building and in the building. Is what it comes. Is what I was hearing. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Oh, exactly.
And well, our chief was pretty persistent, so he kept pushing it and kept pushing it, and denied, denied, denied. Even the day of, um, even when the crowd initiated their, you know, attack, we'll call it, or whatever the fuck word you wanted to use, um, he was calling the Pentagon. He was calling anybody and begging for help. And there's a general. I don't know if he was like a 2-star or 3-star, but he was in charge of the DC National Guard. And even he's like calm as a cucumber. And in his testimony, because he had to testify before Congress, he was like, well, I had to notify my chain of command and I needed to authorize this. And there's these policies in place. You can't just snap a finger and get the National Guard. You've got to ask this person. It was like, it's the way it sounded to me was there's like 25 people that have to approve this before it can happen. And so that process of asking 25 people didn't start until after the damn Capitol's being attacked. You know what I mean? So it was just like, I mean, they've since changed all those policies to now where they can basically like smash a red button, so to speak, and all of a sudden the National Guard will start coming. Is kind of how I understand it. They made it a lot different now, because of January 6th. But yeah, it was a total mess. I mean, our chief, I mean, he tried. He did everything within his power to get. He can't go pick up the National Guard in a pickup truck himself. But by all accounts, from what I've heard and his testimony and his receipts that he's posted, because he posts the times and everything, and it's funny because like Pelosi will make a post about January 6th and how, she did all these great things to try to help when in reality she didn't. And he'll just like reply to those tweets with like facts and he'll totally like out like her posts and stuff. It's great.
The ratio to the
Yeah,
phantom
that's what
zone.
they call it. Yeah, he ratios her every time she posts January 6th stuff. It's great.
Wow. Now I'm going to ask a few questions. Feel free to not answer whatever you don't want to answer, or
Sure.
give whatever level of answer. I have a bunch of veterans that watch. Somebody asked, when you were in the military, what was your MOS?
I was a 31 Bravo, which is military police.
Okay, there you go. So there's that one. I saw also just commenting, I have somebody who's in Maryland said that they're a big fan of that same chief. And then another person said they read the book and it was a good book. So, I mean, I'm getting a lot of positive on that guy. So I will have to
he's a stud,
follow
and
him.
it sucks because, and not to budge in and cut you off, but he resigned from the Capitol Police like 2 days after January 6th or something like that. And ultimately, his mentality behind it is like, dude, this dude would do anything for his guys. And in his lens was, if I resign, then possibly like the media and the public will put the blame of January 6th more on me than on my men and women in uniform.
Yeah.
Because, in reality, from what I saw, obviously, looking back, there's some videos of guys that are just like fucking open the gates and waving people through and shit. But I mean, I didn't see that shit to my left and my right. Like, obviously, I saw it afterwards on Twitter videos and shit. But the people, men, women in uniform to left and right of me were like, dude, they were fighting for, it wasn't even fighting for the Capitol, bro. It was fighting for survival.
Yeah.
And I'll be honest with you, man, like, yeah, it was a fight for survival. And it sucks because that chief, he resigned like 2 days after. And I really wish, I really wish he would have stayed in command. I think the Capitol Police would be in a much better place because he was just getting started. He was only the chief for like a little while before the 6th happened. And he was already making like great changes. But it is what it is. Now they hired some other idiot who's in charge over there. But Yeah, he's a good dude.
Okay, I saw in the chat earlier. They said, do you think that the communication was set up to fail? Also, I will note before you answer that he did lose his radio like 2 minutes into it, so I think he had a
Yeah,
special level of bad communication. But go on
yeah,
anyway.
yeah. I wasn't even I wasn't a part of much communication, besides yelling and screaming to myself and maybe the guy next to me. But um, I mean, obviously, like I said earlier, like any major incident, communication just sucks ass. And when you got 2,000 officers in uniform, you've got how many other thousands of officers that are changing their radio channel up to Capitol Police's channel? Because if they're going to respond to an incident that Capitol Police is dealing with, why the hell would they be on their, DC Metro channel
Right.
or um, FPS channel or Secret Service radio channel? Like, no, they're going to switch up to Capitals because they're going to get the most information about what's going on when they get on scene. And when you've got thousands of people on one radio station, I mean, use your imagination. Take every person in your local town and put them on the same walkie-talkie. Um, Try keying up and talking and trying to get, and you might just be putting out a description of a guy you just saw uh, fucking bash an officer with a fucking fire extinguisher. And you're trying to say,
Right.
oh, yeah, he's over here. But in the meantime, I'm getting cornered and I need help immediately. And I'm trying to call 1033, which is like a 10 code, which is like 1033. If you hear that on radio, it's like, if I don't get help right now, I'm going to die. That's basically if you hear 1033 on a radio. At least our 10 codes were like that.
Mm-hmm.
And there were incidences where there were officers calling 1033. You had a lot of officers that got banged in the head pretty bad. You got a couple officers that have traumatic brain injuries because of January 6th, still alive. But you got guys that have loss of eyesight in one eye. You got guys with a lot of different health issues. I give you a quick story about communication. We had one officer, female, and she got banged so bad. I don't know if she was concussed or what, but she was just like totally disoriented. And her husband works on the department as well, and he finds her, and she's in really bad shape. So he's trying to get on the radio to call for an ambulance, and he cannot get through. And finally, when he does get through, they were like, "Yeah, it's going to probably be quite a while before we can get an ambulance to you." And so what's he do? So basically, like the radio was honestly like useless. You know what I mean? And
Mm-hmm.
he ended up slumping her over his shoulder and basically like walking her to the hospital, which was very far away. But I mean, as far as we're set up for failure, I think you do your best to plan. I think a lot of first responder type jobs, they try to do their best to say they're being proactive and say, oh yeah, we run tests and we do training drills and we do different exercises to make sure we're ready for the different types of situations. But I think ultimately, dude, like you don't know how you're going to respond until you're in like an oh shit situation, even with all the most training in the world. I mean, unless you're like the fucking Navy SEALs or something, those guys are like different and shit. But um, yeah, I don't think necessarily we're set up for fail. I think the equipment was the right equipment. I just think it was just overburdened with thousands of guys talking on the same channel, all dealing with different like crisis incidences within themselves,
Mm-hmm.
and it created chaos. It created chaos.
Right. And I think that's the key is in the chaos, you're able to do a lot of other things that you would never have been able to do because the chaos breaks down communication, organization, the effectiveness to respond and watch what's going on. So while you guys are getting your ass kicked by, 25 people versus 500 people, then, there's the video of somebody passing something out of the Capitol, which was used to break into the Capitol. And you're like, how does that happen? Like, that doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of head scratcher stuff.
Yeah.
with that day. I mean, I do want to mention because I mean I don't know how long you want to go.
No,
I
go
mean,
ahead. I want you
we
to
can
empty the tank. This is great information for a lot of people and a different perspective than people are used to listening to.
yeah, and I mean a lot of people I think in this world too, man. Like I'll say this, like being in law enforcement, I think a lot of people like in society view law enforcement now under such a magnified scope of everything we do, and um, it's such a fragile job because if I have a bad day at McDonald's and I work at McDonald's and I have a bad day, um, it's fine. It's not the biggest deal in the world. I go home, I come back the next day, and I continue working. And I might have to, maybe I get disciplined and I get a write up or something because I threw fries on the ground. I don't know.
Mhm.
If you have a bad day in law enforcement, like you're either going to be possibly killed or going to trial because you fucking shot somebody and you shouldn't have, or there's just so much more scrutiny behind it. And I think society expects law enforcement to be perfect, and nobody's perfect. And it's a very, very difficult job. And the reason I say all this is because I'm leading up to like the Ashley Babbitt thing,
Right.
and I want to just mention this. And um, whenever there's a controversial, police involved killing of somebody, it's hard as human beings to not rush into a conclusion of, man, that's fucked up, that's terrible.
Yeah.
um it's hard not to, because you see a video, you see it, you know what I mean, and it's like, why the fuck did that happen? To put it in perspective, we have to, I think, as humans, try to put ourselves in the position of the officer that did something that was egregious, and or being judged as egregious, and try to see what were they feeling, what were they thinking to do to lead up to that. And for the perspective of the Ashley Babbitt incident, before the shooting, right before the shot gets fired, they're in a they're behind a closed doorway, and has glass, and so you can see through the glass. And
Mhm.
there's like a pile of chairs and a desk or something like that to try to barricade the door. Right behind that doorway is either the House or Senate floor. I don't know which side. It would have been the House side. So that's the House chambers. And there's still members of Congress and chiefs of staff and aides that are evacuating the House floor. That's how fast, like things happened that day. Is like by the time people breached, they were also like right up almost in the House chamber, like very quickly. And so they were able to get the doors barricaded, um, but not in enough time to where the crowd, boom, here they are. And the one video I see is there's like three uniformed police officers standing on the crowd side of the doorway, and they're not fighting. They're just standing there shoulder to shoulder.
Mhm.
And the crowd comes up and they're screaming, "Get the fuck out of our way!" In the foreground, like far back, you can hear or you can see people still shuffling across that hallway that's through the glass. Well, what they're doing is they're fleeing down a staircase that leads to like the tunnels that are underneath the Capitol building. And so, um, on the House floor, on the Senate floor, up in the stands, there's plain clothes. We call them plain clothes. So we're in suits and ties. Um, Dignitary protection officers. Now, not every member of Congress gets a dignitary protection detail, but if you're a position within Congress that's considered like a leadership position, you do get a DPD team. So, like the Speaker of the House, Senate Majority Leader, Senate Minority Leader, House Majority Leader, House Minority Leader. And then if you're a member of Congress and you're just like happen to be in the headlines for something because there's something controversial and you're receiving like an absolutely boatload of threats, they
Mhm.
might make up a team for you for like a little while, until the smoke settles, basically type deal. Um, so you got these, and so for more detail, dignitary protection guys, they're essentially just like Secret Service, but they're for members of Congress, not for the president, right? So what are they carrying? They're in a suit, they got a pistol, they might have one or two extra magazines, maybe a pair of handcuffs and a radio. That's it.
Hmm.
They don't have pepper spray. They don't have baton. They don't have a taser. They have nothing else. They're there to be a body to just push and punch and kick people away from whoever they're protecting, or to potentially shoot somebody. That's basically it. Um, you know, they don't go anywhere without like regular uniformed law enforcement also present whenever they're going to these places. So like, God forbid somebody does like storm or charge at Nancy Pelosi or something, the first line of defense should be a police officer in uniform, not a dignitary protection person. Dignitary protection is like the last line of defense. So anyway, the crowd comes up to the door. You got 3 officers standing there shoulder to shoulder. And for whatever reason, the 3 officers walk away. Now, like I stated earlier, I don't know why they walked away. I can't tell you. I'm just analyzing the video the way I am. And like I said earlier, I think a business decision was made. To be honest with
A
you,
bunch of people were walking that way. They're like, you know what? It's a good time to take a piss. Like
dude,
that's
there's me, you, and one other person. We're standing shoulder to shoulder. There's 100 people in front of us. And who knows what they're saying? I mean, I had people that day tell me they're going to kill me. They saw my wedding ring. Oh, you're married? I'm going to find your wife and I'm going to bang her. Terrible things. But that's just another day in the life of being a cop. And I think that's what happened with these 3 guys is they see a crowd and they're in a tight hallway. They're by themselves. They know they stand no chance against these people. They're going to get pummeled to death. Their guns might get taken from them. Like all these thoughts are running through your mind. And so you're like, you know what? Fuck this. Fuck this shit, dude. I want to go get my car keys and I'll just go the fuck home. Like, I don't want to fucking do this shit.
Yeah.
So they walk away in this video, right? So then next thing you see is a guy with what appears to be like a ballistic helmet, I think. And he's smashing the glass out of the door. And then you kind of hear somebody who, like the person recording the video, is like, he's got a gun, he's got a gun. And he is pointing a gun at the person. Now, if you freeze the video right there, you got to think to yourself, what would push this guy to want to shoot this person, the next person that comes through that door? What he's sworn to do is protect whoever his dignitary person is. And if he's still standing there, then his dignitary protection person is still somebody, somewhere close by. Okay? He doesn't have any non-lethal means to be able to stop these people. What led up to this? They already got through multiple layers of security to get to that point within the building that they're at, right? He's taking in all the information of how officers are getting attacked outside too. And, so his mental state is, okay, these are a very violent crowd. They force their way through multiple levels of security. They're screaming, Pelosi, where you at? We're going to get you. There's, violent language is being used by the crowd that they're going to have these intentions of doing these terrible things. And he took the shot. He took the shot. And, I'm not going to sit here and go 100% that's what he should have done. 100% that's what he shouldn't have done. All I'm saying is if you were tasked to do the job that he was doing and you're put in that exact position in a video game and they said, and play. I think taking the shot, I think was what you kind of have to do. You never want to see someone get killed. You never want to take someone's life. I don't think people join to be a police officer because they want to kill people. But that's just my 2 cents is how I'll just leave it at that.
Sure.
That's my 2 cents, the way I look at it. Because have I ever talked to this guy? No. Do I know who he is? Yeah. Have I ever had a conversation with him? Never have. His life's fucked over though. At this point, his life is totally ruined because of that. He's in total full protection. He lives on a military base. I'm pretty sure his kids can't go to public school. Like, what kind of quality of life does he live now?
Right. Yeah, he got kudos from some group of people and then really, really despised by a lot of people.
Yep, and not only him, man, I mean, you share the same last name, you know what I mean? You're fucked. So, I mean, it's like, you know, um, it is what it is. I don't know.
Well, I think to kind of bounce off of that, I did get some perspective on the. We'll go two ways. So, for one, in the positive towards this guy, when the ICE stuff started up and I saw the Alex Pretty and the Renee Good things, immediately I looked at the video, the feedback, like the law, and I'm like, the cops 100% are in the right on both of these. Like, it's not even close. I don't understand what it was very propagandized. But it did
Sure.
make me take a second and think, okay, the lady jumped through the window towards him. He shot her. I wouldn't give him a medal. And from looking at his background, he
Yeah,
absolutely was a rabid activist against that crowd. And as
doesn't
some
help his
people were,
cause for
it
sure.
doesn't help his cause. I mean, the stuff that he'd said forever. I mean, he was basically talking about give me a reason. You know what I mean? Like you can't. They gave him a reason, and then he shot the unarmed woman, and that just like it looks really bad optically. So
Mhm.
I,
No, for sure.
but I do understand, like you said, for one, the business decision angle, and then two, he is the guy in a suit with a gun. He doesn't have a riot shield. He doesn't have bear mace. He doesn't have backup. So it's like you shoot him
He's
and
literally the
run.
last line of defense.
Yeah.
Like
So you shoot
it's
them and run, and that's it. So right
yeah,
now,
it's the last line of defense, and um, he made a choice. I mean,
yeah.
it's I don't know.
Agnar says, but Congress was already evacuated from the Capitol by the start of the protest/riot. Well, you were saying that there were people shuffling away at that
Oh, dude,
time.
they've got timestamps of footage, and there's people traversing hallways within the Capitol, and there's still many members of Congress on some of the floors. I don't know if it was Senate or House, but um, it took a long time for them to finally like bang a gavel and go evacuate. Um, don't know why that delay. Not sure. They start barricading doors, and there's a lot of people that couldn't get out, so they put like they have these like Ziploc bags under every seat that has like a wannabe pathetic uh, gas mask under it. So you had like people putting those things on and like hiding under their desks um, around like there was a video, it was up in the stands or above the like House and Senate floor. So I mean, there are people that didn't get out. You know what I mean? But no, they were still funneling out of the floors. And they couldn't go like their normal routes that they would go. They couldn't take elevators that they normally would because they were in locations that the crowd was already at. So they had to go different ways.
Right. Well, I think the one of the greatest things that ever happened is this body cam thing for cops, because the cop, from what I understood from most cops, are like, dude, you have no idea what we're actually dealing with right in front of us every day.
Yeah.
And if
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
had
Yeah.
strapped a camera to us, you would believe these stories, because the witness,
Yeah.
the criminal goes up to the stand and says, this is what happened. And you're like, bro, that's
Dude.
literally completely not
Yeah.
what happened.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Yeah, actually Capitol Police still didn't have body cams to this point to the point on January 6th. And we from day one that I've been there, it was always like the rumor, like, oh, we'll finally get body cams. Oh, we're finally getting body cams. But like I said, nothing within Capitol Police can go through without the approval of Capitol Police Board. And then honestly, our bosses, the bosses for Capitol Police are leadership of Congress. And there's actually a committee, like a Capitol Police committee, just like there's a National Security Committee and a Finance Committee and different committees within Congress. There's a Capitol Police Committee. I don't know who sits on it currently, but the mentioning of, hey, let's get the Department of Body Cams has come up multiple times, and it gets shut down by Congress. And I mean, everyone has their little like rumored thoughts as to why the fuck wouldn't Congress want us to have body cams?
Yeah, you don't want to
My
walk
my
by.
my
God.
my exactly my 2 cents is I go into the bathroom and Congressman so and so is taking a piss next to me, or they're on a phone call in the stall and they don't know I'm in there, and my body cam records, some kind of conversation or something. Or, you know, dude, I could tell you stories, man. I mean, late night stuff that you find and catch inside these offices. And
Oh yeah, I
you
can't
know what I
even
mean?
imagine.
If I respond to something going on, there's a door activation alarm at this so and so's person office. Can you go over there and just make sure everything's tidy? And you go in there and you see, some congressman or whoever, and you know, some hot chick in there with them. You know what I mean? And
Yeah,
imagine if I caught that on body cam. You know what I mean? So it's like, I think that's my opinion as to why Capitol Police still. I think maybe they are just starting to get body cams, but I think like you have to be like a patrol officer that like strictly stays outside the
yeah.
buildings.
Like
to where
you can't come in here with that. I believe
exactly,
it. I totally believe you. Yep, the Senate
exactly.
hearing room video. Exactly. Luckily, I did not watch that. I heard about it. I saw the memes. I never watched it.
You
And
talking about
hope
the recent one, like a couple
yeah,
days
the
ago?
guy, well, no, not recent. It was like a year ago, but it was some guy was in the Capitol or the Senate hearing room getting just absolutely annihilated from behind. And
Oh, it was
he
two
just
dudes, right?
it was two dudes, yeah. And he just
Yeah,
like
it was
I don't know
actually a
how it got
few years
posted.
ago.
I didn't watch it, but I heard about everyone watching it. I saw the memes and I was like, oh, I'm glad that didn't autoplay somewhere because
Yeah,
no thanks.
they were two AOC employees, which are
That's
like
right.
janitors, basically. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, that's I mean it's like the Mile
That's what
High
I'm saying.
Club
But
and
that's a perfect example of what I'm talking about, though. Like, there's stuff that goes on behind closed doors up there, and that's my opinion as to why they don't want cameras on every officer that's walking around because they'll catch stuff.
I totally believe you. I totally believe that. Let me see. Is there any in the chat before we wrap this up? If there's any pertinent question, drop it in. I called you Foley in as a alias. I don't know
Oh, okay.
if you are aware of Beverly Hills Cop, but yeah. So for
Yep.
the for the time being, alias Foley. Uh, But seriously, I really appreciate you reaching out and then giving this perspective. I think having a non hyper political activist perspective of what really happened, at least
Yeah.
like in this instance, would have probably healed the country a little bit more at the beginning than seeing the one videos of Antifa and BLM and like the active you'd have like a Black Lives Matter radical activist wearing a MAGA hat taking videos and stuff, and you're like, I recognize that guy from like these other riots from the
Sure.
left. And so when you see that, you're just like, okay, the whole thing is A, staged, B, the left did it, and then you know what I mean. So you end up
Hmm.
with this very warped view of what was going up.
Yeah, I think like for me personally, I think for like I can speak for a majority of the police department. Like, you saw some police officers do everything they could to get in front of a camera. And you want to know what they all shared? All those people that begged and pleaded to get in front of any camera they could, they all hated Trump.
Right.
And I can understand the hatred for Trump because it's easy to tie him into this. It's
Sure.
easy for people to jump to that because, oh, well, they wanted, they didn't like the election and they didn't like that. So it had to all been so it's quick to do that. I mean, for me personally, like, all those people, the way I look at it, all those people that got in front of cameras was all for personal gain. And I'm not like that. Um, I didn't do this career because I couldn't wait to get on 60 Minutes.
Right.
Um, it's not why I did it. Even if I go through the hardest thing ever in my world, if a camera is forced to be in front of me, then it is what it is, and I'll just thank God for putting me in that position to be able to handle whatever I had to handle that day, and not some innocent person. And I was able to take care of business or whatever.
Mhm.
But these people feel bad for me. Woe is me. Trump's a bad person. And what'd you see these people get? More and more camera time, medals given to them, awards given to them. Every testimonies in front of Congress, all sorts of shit. And it was just aggravating to see. is just like not one mention of what everyone else on the department did that day was mentioned by any of these people. It was all me, I. Look what I did. Look what I did. But I mean, it's been a few years. I look back on it, and you know, um, I saw, kind of the types of conversations you have with your show and what you do, and I'm like, you know what? If there is one person that I'm, willing to take time out of my day and speak with, it would be you. And I think it is important, like you stated, that people do get like my type of a perspective. Um, and if they're willing to hear it, I'm willing to share it. And it doesn't bother me one bit. It was a very discussed and talked about event in our history. So,
Yes.
I feel like, things like that are worth talking about. And, like I think it was like Charlie Kirk, he was quoted saying one time, like, as soon as people stop talking about things, that's when shit will just be terrible or something like that. I'm misquoting him terribly, but he basically just
I
said
know what
like
you mean, though.
it's good to have open dialogue and continue to communicate, like always, even if it's people that you disagree with. And that's why he would go to college campuses and didn't mind getting shouted at by people that totally disagreed with what he believed in. And so I think it's important to talk about it. And I mean, so long as you're truthful, and so long as you're honest and you don't try to take credit and try to get personal gain out of what you say. And I think
Right.
a lot of officers did that right initially. Like the first people that spoke were all people that were trying to get something out of it, whereas the majority was like the silent majority, just stayed quiet. But I mean, I could go on hours and hours talking about it, and I think this is the type of conversation where you go to bed tonight and you might think of like 7 other things you wanted to ask me, and same for your audience. And I don't mind. And if there's enough there that you want to do another conversation or something, more than willing to do that. So
Awesome. Yeah, no, I definitely would. Now, one question I just have for you, because you said you saw some videos and whatever after the fact. I know there was basically an online gridlock that happened after January 6th. And I'm not sure if you're aware of the level of like censorship and suppression and like just blacking stuff out. Like I'd see something and then it'd just be gone and I can't find it again. And like that kept happening pretty much from January, well, really from the election on, it started happening. But after January 6th, it was like insane, the level of purge across the internet. So, and two things happened that were really big. One is CNN very heavily edited Trump's live speech. And they I think he ended up suing them later, and BBC got sued later because it was just
I think I remember hearing about that.
Fight like hell and go attack. Yeah, basically go attack. And it was like, no, he said, hey, everybody, go peacefully and patriotically. We're going to go peacefully and patriotically and make our voices heard. And like it was just like they absolutely just slapped sections together that were irrelevant to make it sound like he incited the mob. And then the second thing they did was he posted a video on Twitter and said like, hey, people are attacking at the Capitol. That is not okay. We are the law and order party. Go home. Do not attack the police. We do not do that. And then that video got taken down immediately, and his whole accounts got like locked out. So how long before you even knew what he really said at the speech and that he told people not to do anything?
Oh, dude, I mean, a long time. I mean, I can't give you an exact time frame, but I remember it being like quite a bit of time because I mean, at first, like an idiot, I mean, I'm not too much of like a news media person regardless. I get like most of my like world news information from like Twitter, or now called X.
Yeah.
Or just like that's it. I really don't watch like too much television and shit, but like, you see televisions on in the background when you're walking around like Capitol Police headquarters and stuff like that. And so you'll catch a headline here, or see a clip there, clip there. So I mean, that's how I was honestly getting a lot of like my guess you could call it information,
I'm not
which was bad
surprised at all.
information.
Yeah, I'm not surprised at all. But yeah,
You
wow.
know, so I'm like, it does make it out to seem like, excuse me, like Trump is, maybe kind of started this thing.
Yeah,
Um, and then some time went by, and you saw a little more and a little more and a little more, and then Trump finally, I think Trump actually at one point even made a statement. Maybe it was a response to a question from a reporter, and he talked about exactly what you said. And he said, I don't know, I'll remind you all that I did post a video on the 6th, like minutes into
yeah,
the rioting starting, and I said everyone to stop. The one thing, I guess, if I can just like be, I don't know, critical of Trump, I guess. I mean,
go
I
ahead.
still voted for the guy even after the fact,
Yeah,
just like I mentioned earlier. But like, my thought is like, dude, these people like love you. Like your supporters are super pretty loyal people to Trump. You know what I mean? And my thing is like, if you posted a like, I think like prior to that video being taken down and monetized or whatever by uh, the powers that be,
yeah,
like it wasn't like the first time that something like that had happened with his social media. And my only thought was like, yeah, sure, try the social media video first to like get out to the masses and tell people to like chill out. But like if that gets taken down immediately and you still are seeing the live coverage of like people just getting their shit rocked and like me, like, dude, like dead ass, like I didn't even really like think I was a cop, like in some aspects of January 6th. I was just like literally fighting for my life in some
yeah.
aspects of it, man.
It was just like
And
Street Fighter, and that was
yeah, just straight
yeah,
up, just like, dude, like WWE Friday night, man. Like, just look to your left. Here comes another person. Oh, bam, whack them down to the ground. Oh, look to my right. Here comes a person with bear mace. Bam. And it's just like an onslaught. And I'm just thinking, like, dude, if the video gets taken down by social media, and the activity is still happening, like, get in like your limousine and drive down to the Capitol and tell people chill. You know what I
right.
mean? Like, whenever you're going through hell like that, you just want it to stop. And I wanted it to stop, and it wasn't stopping. And I just thought, like, if I'm going to be critical of Trump, even though I voted for him again, I would have just like, I feel like there was more he could have done. And I understand, like, well, his security detail probably wouldn't want him to go out in that environment.
Oh
And da, da,
yeah,
da, da, da.
they'd be like,
I know,
hell no.
I
But
get it, but
I get
like,
what you're saying though. I'm let you can have it. You could totally
you
have
know what
it.
I mean? You know what I
Right.
mean? So I'm just like, dude, I understand that, but I really think like if these people were loyal Trump people, like they wouldn't do anything to him. Plus, he's in like a fully up armored, missile proof vehicle. Just let him get on the PA system of the car and just tell everyone to chill. I don't know. I'm just thinking outside the box. I don't
Sure.
know.
Yeah, I don't
Um,
fault you for that thought process at all. Like that's totally cool. I get it. I
yeah.
definitely get it. Um, no, that's absolutely. And then I got just endless thank you, and I hope you're holding up. I hope you've like
Oh
been
yeah.
able to internalize it and reflect, and like it doesn't weigh on you every day, that kind of thing.
Mm. No, no,
But
it doesn't. It doesn't weigh on me every day. And as years gone by, talking about it has, I don't know. It's weird, dude. Like, I can't tell you what PTSD is. I can't tell you what it looks like. I can't tell you what it feels like. And I can't sit here and say, Jeff, I have PTSD. I can't tell you that because I don't know. But I will say, like, there are times when I do talk about it that, like, I don't know, like I feel like my heart rate goes up a little bit.
yeah,
And so I don't know if that is PTSD. I don't know if that's just you're just reliving a little bit of some trauma or some traumatic thing you kind of went through. Um, but I just feel like the more that I talk about it, the more that I'm cool with the whole thing, man. Like it is what it is. I lived, like, yeah, some people died. It was awful, but yeah, some windows got broke. Windows can be repaired. Who gives a fuck? Like So like I'm cool. I sleep fine at night, but I will say like the more I do talk about it, I feel like the more and more comfortable, and like that whole heart rate thing I mentioned, like doesn't really happen much anymore. So, I mean, I just think it's a good story. I think it's a good perspective for people um, to hear. So I feel like why not talk about it? You know what I mean? People want to know. People want to know some information that you have. Like why hide behind the curtain and not talk about it? Um, so I don't know. I'm good with it, and I'm doing good, and um, yeah, life is good. So
That's great. I'm glad to hear the life's good for you, man. That it's been going well. I wish that people like you, not you specifically, because I know you didn't want the spotlight, but I wish there were people like you that just had that conversation and put that perspective out, because all we got was the damn hyper partisan, hyper polar, polarizing people that a lot of times lied when you look at the videos and stuff, and you're just like,
sure.
damn, like what you start to feel like, did anything happen? You know what I mean? And obviously something, it was very big, very traumatic, and you guys got pretty much thrown into the meat grinder as like the sacrifice to the event itself. It
Mhm.
really is. Dagnar says, where did you deploy while in service, if you are okay answering that?
Yeah, I was part of an MP unit, like I said earlier, military police, and I had a really good deployment. It was a very nice, easy deployment. I didn't have any like crazy, um, super tactical, cool shit. So I deployed to Qatar, and there's which anybody that's deployed to Qatar has been to the same base. It's the largest Air Force base, I think, in the Middle East. Actually, I think it just received some incoming from Iran potentially. Recently, it's Al Udeid Air Base. But right outside Al Udeid is there's like a little tiny army detachment base that's right down the road, and I did a PSD detail out of there. So I was part of like a 10-man team, and we just had like up armored Tahoes. And it was actually a really awesome deployment because I really rarely had to wear like a US Army uniform. And so I got to wear like 511s and polo shirts and stuff like that. And if there was like US Army uh, or just U.S. military in general, like generals or anyone visiting the area, we would pick them up from the airport, drive them around to their meetings, go to the UN, um, just basically like any type of protection detail for any quote unquote important people that are in the military, U.S. military. We were their drivers, their protection, things like that.
Yeah. Now, I've been accused of being a paid shill for Qatar a lot of times because of just any level of criticism for Israel. So I'm curious, like, are the Qataris as unbelievably evil as these people pretend they are?
I mean, I can't even begin to make a comment on that. I really have no idea.
That's fine. Are they a decent?
Um,
Would you say they're a decent ally for the United States, or is that beyond the pay
I
grade too?
mean, dude, my level of like information regarding like Qatari military is like they would be like the first gate you would go through if you were entering like a military base. Even a US military base, they would have like a Qatari or two Qatari like military guys. And like in my two senses, like a third world country level military personnel, like disheveled uniforms, fucking rifles from like the fucking 70s. Um,
Yeah.
that type of an appearance. You know what I mean?
Okay.
Like, so I mean, that's my two cents of like dealing with the Qatari military. I can't tell you really anything more because I don't know.
That's totally fine. Yeah, I just had to throw a jab out there because I'm like, nobody pays me anything from any side. What are you talking about? they're like obviously you only say that because you're paid off by this faction. I'm like, what? It's like
Yeah.
it's like I tried to share actually a CIA document was declassified from 60 years ago where they basically found the cure for cancer from a message they decoded from the Russians, and then they just instantly classified it and hid it for 60 years. And a bunch of recent studies they've been doing are echoing that paper exactly, like this thing is causing.
Wow.
And I even have the dosages and everything. And so I shared just that it was declassified in some of those connections, and I got another strike on TikTok, and they deleted it for medical disinformation. And then like the next day, the Daily Mail and a bunch of mainstream media people picked it up. That like exactly what I said, but it was the next day. So it was like it was misinformation yesterday, and now it's like mainstream news. And I still have a strike from Larry Ellison. So thanks, bro.
That's funny.
So anyways, that's way outside the scope. We ran late. I really appreciate you coming on. I know other people, and people will ask potentially for more from you, either on my show or other shows. So I would definitely enjoy having you back sometime, and we can coordinate that, and another time, and I'll pass you other people's info, and then you can reach out, because like I said, I know I'm pretty anal about the doxing thing. I'm not just going to send your information to a bunch of people, but if somebody's interested in you, I'll send you theirs, and you can reach out. That
Cool.
makes
Yeah,
sense.
that's fair enough. Yeah, and and I appreciate it. Having the conversation, and like I said, any further conversations you want to have in the future with more questions or details or things like that, absolutely reach out, and we can set that up. And yeah, man, it's good to hear all is well on your end with things. And congrats on
Absolutely.
the show and everything.
Thank you. No, I really appreciate it. I'm glad things are good, and we'll roll out on that. But we can thank Foley. I'll make an avatar of you as basically Eddie Murphy in Capital Capital
Sure, man. Sounds good to me.
That's perfect. But yeah, all right, guys. Thank you so much for joining us. I'll see you tomorrow on ThoughtCast, 12 p.m. Eastern time. This was definitely a great perspective. I'm glad to have it. It was perfect for deep thoughts. We got that off of Foley's chest. I feel like that needed to get let out in its entirety on film for the world. All right. I'll see you.
See you, Jeff.
Wow. I kind of feel like that's what I should be doing. Like that was important message for a lot of people. And there was a lot of information I did not know there. Like I know a bunch of the other side information, because like I said, I'm an internet sleuth. So I was like watching as everything was happening from the outside in, and that was from the inside out. That was really cool.